With rates now at 8% and possibly climbing, what does this mean to a probate seller, and should they even be concerned? In my last short video, I mentioned that a lot of lenders are starting to quote near 8%. Well, now they are 8%. So should this be a warning sign for people in probate or that have to sell an inherited house? Well, you bet it should. I'll tell you why. If the market shifts from a seller's market to a buyer's market, it's going to be a whole new ballgame for you. And there's going to be some things you need to watch out for. So I'm going to give you a few of them and a few ways that you can prevent them. So first, if you're already in an agreement of sale, make sure that this new 8% did not knock your buyer out of qualifying for your house. See if they were locked in or not. And while you're at it, double check that 8.5% or even 9% is not going to knock them out. See how much of a threshold they have. Secondly, if the rate goes up and the buyer can't afford it, be prepared for them to come to you for a solution. They may ask you to lower your price. They may ask you to pay for some points to lower the buyer's rate. Know that in most cases, per the agreement of sale in Pennsylvania, the normal one, you're not obligated to do this. If the buyer comes to you and asks you to help them obtain a mortgage by pulling money out of your pocket, it becomes strictly a business decision for you. And again, most Pennsylvania agreements of sale don't force you to do this. The next thing is watch your timeline where capital gains are concerned. A buyer may come to you and ask you to extend settlement to give them a chance to get a lower rate. Well, rates are going up quickly right now, and they may not drop as quickly. They usually don't. Before you agree to extend settlement, make sure the new date does not push you into a capital gains situation. The IRS will not give you a break on capital gains just because the rates went up and your buyer needed more time. Know that all investment properties are required to pay capital gains when they are sold and the gains are realized. Investment properties are identified as properties where the owner, in this case is the estate, have not occupied the house 2 of the last 5 years. Although the deceased owner may have occupied the house for the last 2 years or 2 of the last 5, the estate is who will be looked at as the current owner. And sometimes probate sales can take over 2 years. If your settlement does have to be extended, and it happens when you're very close to the original settlement date, don't forget to call the utilities and extend the shutoff date. Many sellers shut the utilities off for a settlement date, and with all the activity that's going on with an extension, like a last minute one especially, they often forget to extend that date, and the utilities get shut off. In normal Pennsylvania agreements of sale, unless otherwise agreed upon, it is the seller's responsibility to keep the utilities on so that the buyer may do a final walkthrough. Even though the buyer may be the one that wants to extend, if you haven't changed that line in the agreement of sale, it's still on you to keep the utilities on. Make sure you pay attention to that key detail if you're asked to renegotiate on the settlement date. So how do you prevent these things from happening? Well, the first thing is, before you agree on selling your house to someone, make sure there's a sufficient rate spread in the mortgage contingency that is on a standard Pennsylvania agreement of sale. You want to have the rate and the points clearly spelled out in addition to the commitment date. And if it's at the commitment date and you don't have one, make sure you ask why. Do your due diligence, and if it's something major, the agreement of sale should give you the right to cancel. Or if there's anything on that contingency that does not meet with your approval, you can also cancel, again, in a standard Pennsylvania agreement of sale. So what are some things on the mortgage contingency or the mortgage commitment that would cause you to cancel? Well, this could be anything from updated bank statements to updated pay stubs, which are all pretty standard. Or it could be something as major as requiring a tax return to be filed. This is somewhat common with self-employed borrowers. When you get that commitment, that'll be on there. You really should check with an attorney before signing an agreement, especially if you're thinking about changing an agreement or taking action upon one of the contingencies within the agreement of sale. You don't have to use an attorney for the entire probate and sale process, although you should. You can bring them in at any time you feel you need legal advice. Before agreeing to give anything to the buyer monetarily, make sure the mortgage company knows it and is okay with it. There are restrictions and standards with this. Don't do under-the-table deals with the buyer, even if they're a relative. People try to do this not realizing they're actually committing a crime. It's called loan fraud, and it normally causes the mortgage company to accelerate the loan if they ever find out about it. You can be on time with all your payments for any number of years and have the mortgage company discover that there was some type of fraud committed in obtaining that mortgage, and they will accelerate. That means, even with on-time payments, you could be foreclosed. So keep everything on the books. As a seller, you never want to get that phone call that the estate's being audited for reasons of fraud when you sold the property. If you're an executor and would like a handy, helpful executor's checklist, look for the link in the description below. And if you have any questions, feel free to call me, text me, email me. I'm always available. Hey, this is Billy's associate broker with RE/MAX of Bensalem, licensed agent with RE/MAX in New Jersey. And as always, thanks for watching. And hey, please like and subscribe.